Hi, listeners. Welcome to Off the Cuff. And today is a special program, I'll say, for parents who have children in high school, especially juniors, because I do have Ruchi Kothari, founder of IvyBound Consulting, and she's got rave reviews and a 98% success rate. One parent with three Ivy bound students put it, Ruchi is the secret weapon for families who want to set their teens apart and secure that admission. So, Ruchi, very warm welcome to Off the Cuff.
Thank you so much, Namrita. I'm really excited to be on the show.
And a little bit more about Ruchi. Ruchi S. Kothari helps students gain admissions to their top choice colleges and become 20 times more likely to enter the top 25 US universities, earning her the reputation, as I said, the secret weapon for college admissions. Through a personalized, hands on approach, Ivy bound counselors provide clear, actionable guidance, ensuring students craft compelling applications, standout essays, and strong extracurricular profiles, all with unmatched accessibility, evenings, weekends, and holidays, because every student's future deserves that level of commitment. So that's an amazing, way of going around this kind of work that you're doing. So, Ruchi, tell me a little bit about your personal journey. I remember you telling me that you were born here in Southern California, you were in Bay Area. So, a little bit about your journey and what got you into mentoring children.
Sure, sure. So I'm actually a Californian at heart.
Okay.
I do live in the East Coast now,
Mhm.
but my family immigrated in the 1970s, like most Indian families,
Mhm.
um, hoping for economic freedom and, creating a better future for like their children, for us. So I grew up in Southern California. I did my entire schooling in America.
Mhm.
So I have gone through that system. And I remember um, navigating the college admissions process in the 90s. And at that time, it was paper applications.
Yeah.
So, like most Indian families, education was a very big thing in our family. It was a priority. Yet, being a girl, um, priorities were a little different. It was basically to get me, get married.
Oh.
That's what my father wanted because, like many immigrants at that time, they didn't want to lose the culture and the value as well.
Mhm.
So, nevertheless, I navigated through that process by myself, paper applications. I remember actually mailing them right before deadline went, and I went to the post office to get that timestamp that which they required. Um, and lo and behold, I got into several Ivy Leagues. Really excited how I navigated through the process. However, my father didn't want me to leave California. He wanted me to commute from home. So I actually turned down my acceptances and I went to USC instead, which is still a phenomenal college. Um, but my kids still joke. They say that if Nanaji allowed you to go to Princeton, we'd have legacy status and we wouldn't have to work so hard. Um, so I actually powered through my education. I still went on to get a master's, an accelerated master's from Northwestern. And I actually became a senior manager at American Express at the age of 22. Um, my parents by then found me a match. I got married at 23, and my husband's in technology, so I moved to the Bay Area.
Mm.
So I am very familiar also with the Bay Area. We started in Santa Clara. I lived there for 8 years. I actually worked at a couple startups. My daughter was born 15 minutes away from Stanford at
Mm.
Sequoia Hospital. And then we, as a family, made a decision that we're going to move to the East Coast, where I had my two younger sons. So at that point, I basically I think became more part-time
Mm,
professionally. I pivoted more to focusing on my kids. However, I think education has always been a passion for me. So the way that I pivoted my energy was more in PTA leadership, running for Board of Education. So I was elected, I was the first South Asian elected in my town to serve for pre-K to eighth grade. And I did that for 6 years. So I was like responsible and looking through curriculum, finance, policy. And from there, but always been helping my brothers, my cousins, family, friends through college applications. And I also helped my children. My daughter is at Yale, my son's at Stanford, and my youngest one is at a top private school right now. So I think that's 50, so that's where the seed for IvyBound Consulting emerged
mhm.
when my families and my friends started telling me you need to start a business because you're actually really good. So this was now I have to say now it's been 15 years that I have been successfully running this business where I feel that I'm truly invested in my students.
Mm.
And that's why they do so well because of that personalized approach. And I'm able to say that 98% of them actually get into their top three college choices.
That's a very high success rate. And, your life is an example of, what you're doing. Your kids have
Thank
gone
you.
to, yeah, I mean, a lot of parents can only dream of such a, scenario because this entire thing is not easy. Parenting is not easy. And like you said, you coming from such a traditional family background where you were almost told to get married immediately,
Yes.
around. So, I have to give it to you. It's marvelous that you're doing what you're doing, and I'm sure your kids are and your students are very very proud of what you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely lovely story, Ruchi. And now coming to the process of college applications and applying. What are the do's and don'ts for that? Like just basic stuff. Yeah.
So to answer that question, I'm going to actually talk a little bit about the college admissions landscape.
Okay.
Because as you guys are all seeing, it's been college admissions is very complex, very competitive, and very unpredictable. For example, um, things changed a lot during COVID, where colleges became test optional, and then families started thinking that, if it's test optional, why not apply to Harvard? Which created surge in applications where, universities like, Harvard, Princeton were getting like 60,000 applications to 70,000 applications. And then UCLA and NYU started getting over 100,000 applications. Um, so which really drove the admit rate down. So that happened. And then a few years ago, we were dealing with affirmative action and the rejection of it. And colleges and admissions officers had to go back and figure out how are they going to maintain diversity. So then their focus became doing outreach programs and admitting students who
Mm.
are low income, underrepresented minorities. And that's not Indians. Um, so
Yes.
that was their focus. And now with Trump and the current political climate and his policies, and especially targeting higher education and institutions, um, there's a fear out there, and the fear is real. I am seeing my families being stressed. I'm seeing officers trying to figure out how they're going to navigate the current application cycle. And there's a looming fear that is affecting everyone. With that in mind,
Mm.
the do's and don'ts, I would say, regardless of what's happening, um, I'll start with the two don'ts. One is that you don't get caught up in it. You know, you
Mm,
keep your head down, um, and you actually do your work in the sense
mm,
like keep performing well in school, right? Academically do well.
mm,
Take your standardized tests.
mm,
And do the extracurriculars that you're really good at and passionate about. Do not be concerned about what the other student is doing, what's happening in the community. And that's why I always tell my students, put your blinders on and do what you're good at. Do
mm.
your strengths. Like let's just focus on that.
Okay. Think that's great advice. Do your strengths,
Yes,
rather than just
definitely.
following people. And yeah, I understand. And yeah, the current scenario is definitely creating a lot of fear and questions among, parents as well as, the students. Um, is it also impacting US nationals, like students here, or it's more like for foreign students?
So it is definitely for foreign students, like,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
fear of international students,
Yes, yes.
what's going to happen because um, when affirmative action happened, it was reaching out, like I said, for the underrepresented minorities
Yeah.
as well as international students.
Mhm.
So colleges made up the tuition through international
Yes.
tuition,
Okay.
right? So that is something that will be a concern.
Mhm.
However, there are so many other things that Trump has been targeting, right? DEI, right? Certain departments, anti-Semitism. So that's why people are still fearful, or even specific colleges like Harvard, right? Or Columbia,
Mhm.
which basically, agreed to um, what Trump wanted, and it's affecting their academic freedom.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
there is a concern. I don't think that the admit rates are going to change much, honestly. Um, However, that's a looming fear that everybody has.
Okay. Now coming back to juggling this whole process, because as a parent myself, and listening to a lot of my friends, there is always this stress moment, when this entire junior year, where their kids are applying, and there's a lot of back and forth where parents and children go through. How can they find balance when they're applying, especially in families, because there is definitely stress and anxiety among both parents and children. So how can they reduce that?
Well, it is a very stressful process.
Hmm.
Um, and I often find my families always using me as a source communicating between the two.
Okay.
And what happens is parents have a certain expectation,
Hmm.
right? Parents come with certain expectations. And
Yes.
honestly, I will tell you, my hardest part of the entire process is managing those expectations. It's not editing essays. It's not creating admission strategy for my students, but it's actually telling my parents that no, the academic profile of the student might not fit what Harvard is looking for or what Stanford is looking for. So, what I tell my families is that take a step back. It is a very stressful process, and you have to balance, you know, what you're looking for and how much a student can handle. It is very overwhelming. I've noticed teens how it affects their mental health. I've had, for example, a student who was at a top magnet school, and for 6 months, all I did was counsel him, like offer therapy,
Oh.
which isn't one of my credentials, but I think being a parent helps because I guess, developed that patience. And being a parent, I understand different learning styles of different students.
Yeah, so I think you have to have that personal connection also with the students when you're, dealing with them.
Yes. Yes. And that personal
What
connection.
can you tell the parents? How should they behave when,
So, what I tell the parents is, first of all, you have to understand what each college is looking for, right? So, I will explain to them, let's say if they're just want their student to go to Stanford, I'll be like, okay, look at the st admissions statistics, right? Look at the stats. Um, is your student fitting in? Is your child fitting into those ranges? If not, there are plenty of colleges. I would say, the top 75 US colleges are comparable in education. So then I tell them, okay, let's look at what your child really wants. Where would they flourish? For example, is it a certain major they're looking for? Um, Not all IVs are good for example, a computer
Yes,
computer science major,
yes.
right? Or a film studies major. USC's really good in film or NYU. So you have to look at that, where are they going to get the best education possible? Secondly, you have to look at like finances, of course, that's a big thing. You know, is the child going to fit in with the culture of the college? A lot of Indians parents miss that part, the social aspect. The student is spending 4 years at this college, and socially, they must fit in. I don't find academically there's that much of a difference between these colleges. There's a huge difference socially. Like, is it a sports-oriented school? Is it very much focused on frats and sororities? So those are all things that you want to look at. Is it a student town or is it like, a commuter town?
Yes.
So all of these actually are very important factors to consider as a family. And overall, as a parent, no matter how much we want our child to get into a top college, we all truly want our children to be happy.
I think very well said. Nothing more to say. You said it all. One more thing that a lot of South Asian Indian parents, I'll say, overlook other community colleges because we are in that bubble and in that rat race of making it to the best college with the best like you're saying scores and everything, and we forget that to kind of see where our kids are. Are they ready mentally? Are they ready for this big step? So what do you think of community colleges? Are they worth it?
I think community colleges are a great alternative and an excellent pathway to get into a top tier college. Especially in California, because I feel the community college system has been designed for students to get into these prestigious institutions. Whether it's the Bay Area or Southern California, I've had students actually get into Stanford, UC Berkeley, UCLA, USC through community colleges. So it is a great option, something that I would tell my parents not to overlook. Plus, you know, it really helps people out financially who can't necessarily afford the tuition, right? Because you, what they do is they use the first 2 years to fulfill general education requirements, um, which transfer over and do not affect the major.
Mhm.
So, just to answer your
Makes sense.
question,
Mhm.
community colleges is an excellent choice.
Mhm.
And another trend that I have been noticing is with the surge in tuition rates at private institutions, a lot of students are actually um, pivoting and resorting to community colleges or state colleges.
Okay. Okay, and now, Ruchi, where can they find you and the services you provide? I know you're everywhere on social media, but a lot of people here in the Bay Area would love to, get your services. So everything about that.
That's great. I would love to connect. And I actually do have a number of Bay Area families working with me. annually.
Okay.
Also because I understand, like I grew up in California, so I understand both Southern California schools and Bay Area schools. So I'm able to navigate the families that way. So the different ways to connect with me is one, Instagram. Follow my handle at IvyBound Consulting. What my website is www.ivyboundconsulting.com. You could join my free WhatsApp group. It's for like-minded parents and families, and it's free, where I disseminate college information. You could get that in your show notes. Are you going to put
I
links
will.
to?
I will
Okay.
definitely put it up in the post when I.
Okay, perfect. You can get the WhatsApp link through there as well as through Instagram. I have that link. And there's other social media platforms. And finally, I offer a free consultation call where, again, the link's going to be in your show notes or Instagram, or if it's also on my website where you could set up a free 20-minute call.
Mm. Wonderful, wonderful. And listeners, just reach out to me on Off the Cuff with Namrita on Bolly 92.3 FM. You can go on my Facebook page or my Instagram too and just DM me there. So, uh, Ruchi, I know that it's a lot of people and a lot of kids actually struggle with grades and academics also. And, in the journey towards, I'll say, making a life or, trying to find academic excellence, they do lose their self-esteem because they're compared to so and so and all. So, and we attach so much importance to grades rather than, a person or, a child being just who they are. So, what do you have to say to such students who struggle a little in school and college?
Of course.
Mm.
So you're right, the pressure is real. The
Yes.
pressure is real for parents
Mhm.
as well as students because, they have to answer to family members, friends, as well as community.
Mm.
And that is something that I also am helping my students and families navigate. What I always tell my families is the brand name of a college does not define you. It's what you make of your education. There's a statistic out there that 70% of the CEOs in the world did not go to Ivy Leagues. So, how did they get there? They got there through perseverance, working hard, and handling those challenges and failures that they face. Um, I always tell my students, it's okay. It's going to hurt. You're going to fall down. But the key is to believe in yourself and believe there's another pathway for you. I mean, I, I'm a testament for that. You know, um, I feel that I have taken different pathways in my life. I have actually completely changed careers. It's just a matter of, like I said, really working hard, not listening to people who think that you don't believe in you or say like, you're not going to make it, all of that, and just really focusing on what makes you, brings you that joy, basically.
Yeah. I'll say the parents need to be very careful when they're dealing with children, and they need to be supportive in whichever possible way. Um,
Of
and
course.
I believe because you are an example of adaptability, you move places, you've changed careers. So I think kids need to be adaptable. And, because sometimes when there is a transition phase from high school to college or from one place to the other, that's where the difficulty arises and they get lost sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Namrita, there's actually, you made a really good point. What I'm noticing is there are two groups of students that are emerging into colleges. One are the ones that make it to these top colleges like Ivy Leagues or Stanford or MIT.
Mhm.
What I'm finding is they are experiencing burnout. So when they get to college, they're extremely burned out by the amount of work they put in high school to get to this place and the amount of pressure. Rather than enjoying those 4 years, they are emotionally tired, physically tired, And mental health has become a really big issue where colleges are not are not actually resourced for that. Again, they're also forced to still be in the rat race. Um, I remember telling my daughter this advice when she was going to college at Yale. I said, Ishika, you've done really well, exceptionally well. You're at where you wanted to go. Now use the next 4 years to really enjoy life and experience all the resources of Yale. And then a couple days later, she calls me and she goes, Mom, do you know what community I'm in? If I decide to slow down, everyone around me is just running in that rat race.
Wow.
So that's
It's hard.
one type of students. The
Yeah.
second type of students are the ones who don't make it, and it really affects their self-esteem. They take it as a personal failure, which is not a personal failure. There is so many ways to navigate, your career path as well as your personal growth path, and still come out being, starting a startup if you want to, or being successful in whatever you desire to do professionally. Here are a few key reasons that set me apart from other college counselors. One, that I offer a very personalized, hands-on approach to college counseling. I don't put students in a cookie cutter mold where, I offer the same strategy for business majors versus computer science majors or pre-med majors. I first understand the goals of my families. Where are they trying to go? What type of career they're trying to pursue. So then I offer number two, which is a step-by-step actionable plan per high school year to these students. So by the time they get to senior year, they actually have a winning admission strategy and they do get into their top choice colleges. And three, I make myself accessible to my students. And I would say my accessibility is unmatched. I'm available during evenings, weekends, and even holidays. I also create a group WhatsApp where my students and my parents are connected with me and they can ask questions whenever they need. So I'm basically readily available for them. And I believe what really sets me apart is number four, which is that I every year I do a college tour where I meet admissions officers of these various colleges and I learn insight on what's going on for that particular year. So my college tour starts in August. I do the Northeast colleges, which includes all of the Ivies. I do the California colleges, which includes the top California colleges like Stanford, Berkeley, UCLA, USC. And then I also do the Southern colleges, which includes Duke, Emory, UNC. So with that, I understand what these admissions officers are looking for that particular year, regardless of what's going on, politically, socially. I stay relevant and I bring that pertinent insight into my admission strategy. And that's how I help my seniors create those winning applications and get admitted. So these are the four reasons why I would say that that really sets me apart from other college counselors. And that's why my families deem me as, the secret weapon to college admissions. And I just hope actually to, offer my students a future that they would love through their college acceptances.
I think this was such a wonderful segment. I am seeing the time, and unfortunately, we won't be able to talk more. But thank you, Ruchi, for coming on Off the Cuff. And like I said, listeners, I hope you gained a lot of insight from this interview. You can find Ruchi also on LinkedIn and all the places she's told you. So thank you so much, Ruchi, for your time and wishing you the best.
Thank you so much, Namrita. Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure.
Likewise. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay.